Hello. As you can see, I'm standing in front of the Hospitality Center at New Hope Church. This Sunday, we're getting together as a church face to face. If you can make it, fantastic. We will still live stream. But the Hospitality Center will not be open. So if you want coffee, you've got to BYOC. Bring your own coffee. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday. So today, in Mark chapter 7, Jesus continues his confrontation of the Pharisees. In Mark 7, verse 5, so the Pharisees and teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders instead of eating their food with unclean hands?" He replied, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites. It's written, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are but rules taught by men. You have let go of the commands of God and are holding on to the traditions of men." Now, when Jesus says this, he is speaking about something very, very particular that was going on at about that time. You see, the Pharisees began about 175 BC, so they have been in existence now for 200 years. When they began, they were essentially a back to the Bible movement. They taught Israel that they should pay attention to the Torah, they should listen to God's commands. But over the years, they began to add to those commands. When people questioned why they were adding things that weren't in the Bible, they invented something. They invented what is known as the oral tradition. They said Moses received the law from God and he wrote that down, but he also received secret instruction from God. And Moses communicated that secret instruction orally to his sons, and they to their sons, to their sons. And now the Pharisees held that oral tradition. And guess what was most important to the Pharisees? Scripture took second place to the oral tradition. They began to worship traditions of men instead of tradition or instead of scripture. Sometimes we too follow traditions of men. We get confused and we think that that is actually God's law. For example, the time that we typically go to church in North America is Sunday mornings. I remember I was in Colombia. We were visiting a church in the rural area of Colombia. It was a farming community, and most of the people there worked on dairy farms. Urao was known for its cheeses. We got there on Saturday. There was a wedding, and we participated in the wedding on Saturday night. We got there late, so they waited for us, typical Latins. And somewhere about 10 o'clock at night, the party ended, everybody went home. I looked at the pastor and I said, "So what time is the service in the morning? When do we need to be here?" And he said, "Our service will start at 5 o'clock." I said, "Oh, you don't have a morning service?" And he said, "Yes, the service starts at 5 o'clock." All of the farmers came in. They went to church first, and then they returned to their farms to milk their cows at around 7 or 8 when the cows were used to be milking. I've been in Japan where the church comes together for a morning service. Everybody brings their lunch. They share lunch together, and then immediately they have their evening service at about 1 in the afternoon. I've been to Brazil where churches meet 7 or 8 o'clock on Sunday night. All churches worship Sunday evening. You see, the time is not important, but sometimes we get it in our heads because of tradition that this is what God's want. I just encourage you today, as you study Scripture and as you think about the church, weigh what you think about the church in light of what Scripture says. Is it truly God's law or is it man's tradition. God's law prevails. See you tomorrow. We'll continue talking about this.